It is difficult to serve Satan. A former occult man was confessing. And he said, his master. Meanwhile, he said something, and I said, this is how true discipleship is. He said he was going for an occult meeting, and he stopped by the road and saw this magician and his apprentice. They were performing some miracles before the crowd. Wonders. He now stopped in that place, and he began to watch. And as he began to watch, he was enticed. That's how Satan works. He will entice you. Because he was lusting for power. His lust has always been for power. So when he saw the things this man was doing, I'm not talking about these cheap magic tricks. I'm talking about partnering with real demons. He said he belongs to an occultic group, and yet they don't have this kind of power. He said, then why is he going to that meeting? He said he's going to stay here. And when he saw the manifestations, he went to that man who later became his own master. He spoke with the man. They spoke in tribe, and they spoke some code to also make the man know that he also knows something in the dark world. He said when they spoke that code, the man now fully accepted him. He said from that point, he became the man's apprentice. He didn't go home again. No. He carried the man's bag and went to the man's house. That's what discipleship is. That's what it means to follow a master. It's from there, he was a grown-up man. From there, he carried the bag. I'm talking about something that he said happened in the 1950s or something. Carried the man's bag, put on his head. And they were conversing as they traveled. Later on in life, as he became strong in this operation, many encounters, because he did necromancy. So that man performed magical acts through necromancy, through the spirits of the dead. And according to his confession, he explained that when they are performing their magic tricks and something disappears here, they are seeing the demons, you are not seeing. They will instruct the demons through occultic language who are in the crowd to stand by. And whenever they reach into the pocket of that person, the demon will just hand that thing over to them. So people who are enticed, who lust for power, when they see that thing, they'll say, if I have this one, I go to church and I manifest it. Many of the prophets, sadly, that we have in our generation, magicians are their fathers. Magicians. Magicians are actually their fathers. Fire appear on altar. This one appear. Blood appear on your head. Magicians are their fathers. And then he began to follow. He said, the master now told him one day, say, I want to now cook you. He said, go on a fast for 6 months. Only eat when the sun is down. Never you eat when the sun is shining. And never you sleep when the sun is shining. He said, and then lastly, abstain from sex. Now, abstaining from sex is general. You can, even though you are a married Christian, you can't do serious fasting without abstaining from sex, from your wife. So he said, if you want to go on a fast and you want to abstain, tell your partner. Let it be by mutual consent. Even God, when he wanted to encounter them in Sinai, he said, wash your clothes and abstain. Some people are careless. I heard the pastor speaking. Even if it's in the office and you feel it, knock your wife. Times of refreshing. It is coming. Hi! In the church office. The throne of God above. Times of. That's why your belly is now big and your mouth is fat. And there's nothing there. Don't give him any style. And the people are shouting, woo! Even Satan is more intelligent than those people. You want to walk with a spirit and you don't have government. You want to encounter and confront people who have given themselves to Satan. Come with hymn book, and then you come with communion. Communion that some people now put ogogoro inside. They will tell you, my son, drink but not be drunk. Don't be drunk, my son. My God. The fasting was for 6 months. And he obeyed this his master. But in the 3rd month, he fell asleep. One of those afternoons. And he said, even though his master was not at home, when the master came, the master knew. So the master told him that all your 3 months fast is a waste. Start afresh again. So the grandmaster started saying, he said when he see Christians play, he just laughs. He said, Satan doesn't have mercy. You can't walk with Satan from a slack hand. That's when I now understood why Yeshua said, my yoke is easy and my body is alight. You want to deal? Do you know what these people do just to harness the power of Satan? So this guy fasted for 6 months, only ate in the night for 6 months, and never slept in the afternoon throughout these 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, the master took him to a grave site, him with another apprentice, and the master did a cycle of protection, because demons are very furious beings. They can harm you. They are there to harm you. And what was the commandment? Whatever you see, do not be afraid. So even Satan too applauds the brave. Say a lot of cowardly Christians. You are the one shouting Jesus, you are the one running. When Jesus doesn't walk, you hear, mommy. I tried to say EG, you know what? EG. What kind of generation are we raising? Ulema malakabuna. So as they were doing the incantation, these furious spirits began to come around. And then one of the apprentices, not this one confessing, the other one, because of fear, he ran out of the cycle and he was struck with madness immediately. He said his master did not even care as though anything happened. He continued what he was doing. And he said till today, till that man died, he didn't ask him, oh, how far with this person? They don't have pity. The Bible says no man seeking to build a tower that doesn't first see to count the cost, whether he's able to finish. It's a universal law. Don't engage if you cannot finish. And then he said when they were done with that incantation, a gate opened from the ground. A gate opened. And then they went down. He said they went to the land of the dead. He said the spirit met them, and the spirit was speaking a language that was not human. But this his man was understanding, his master. So as he stood there, that spirit now gave him akara. He said the seeds, said the thing looked very tiny. Tiny like this. Bean cake. Fried, 3 of it. And he did not know because he was very hungry, he threw all into his mouth. He said as he threw it into his mouth, the thing started swelling. So when these spirits were talking to him, his master was interpreting. He was just nodding his head and saying no. And then when the spirits noticed he was choking, he said, meanwhile, when he heard the sakara, he could now understand their language. But he could not speak their language. He now said, this spirit now brought some very tiny something like water. And they told him that from that thing, let him drink a little fraction. He now drank all because it was so tiny. And then he said that spirit was not happy because he came to finish their supplies. Satan came to finish their supply. He said when he drank that water, he could now speak their language fluently. He said in that underworld, whatever spirit that encountered them, there was a magical seal they used on that spirit. He called it the seal of obedience. And from that day, that spirit began to walk with them. This is why they stay in grave. Gathering spirits. Gathering spirits. So a man can have a host of demons working with him. And they want to go there with him book. You eat in the restaurant, forget your Bible. Then I say, Pastor, come and carry your Bible. Thank you. Oh, the diligence with which they seek the devil. 6 months fasting. 1 week was okay. I'm going to pray from 12 to 1 for 1 week. After 3 days, you've forgotten the prayer. It's not like you missed the prayer. You've forgotten that you even said you ever pray. The diligence. This is what most of these false prophets put themselves through just to harness the power of Satan. If you have heart to do that kind of thing for Satan, why not channel that zeal to God? But do you know why they don't channel it to God? They want to be sure that, if I finish this, it will come. They don't want to wait on the Lord. They don't like process. Why they do all that is to escape process.